Everybody, welcome to today's episode of the Flight Path Podcast, SDI's drone-focused podcast. Today, we have a co-host. It's not Steve today. It's James McDanolds, Program Chair for Uncrewed Tech. How's it going, James?
Going pretty good.
Good. We have a special guest today, and he is a friend of yours. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, I can't speak for the man because he's the best one to talk for himself, but I will give him a brief introduction. This is Cody Green, and he has been a drone operator for quite some time now. But while he's been a drone operator both in the military and on the civilian side, he is also a co-founder and CEO of Diamondhead UAS based out of Phoenix, Arizona. So,
all right.
Here's the brief intro.
Cody Green.
There.
Hey guys.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, my friend. I hope the same for you.
I am doing very well. So now, just right off, you've done military drone applications, civilian drone applications. What's harder, military or starting your own business and having the civilian side?
I would say the latter, both starting the business and the civilian sector. The military is pretty cut and dry. They got it all lined up for you. You just show up and do what Uncle Sam tells you to do.
Well, I gotta ask, did you start in the military or did you start on the civilian side?
My journey in the U.S. space, it started in the military side. Back in 2009, I was a young lad up to no good, not doing a whole lot myself, and wanted and needed a ticket out of Dodge. And so I decided enlistment was the best thing for me and went and took the ASVAB, got a list of job opportunities available for me that the military would let me do. And of all the ones available for me, there was drones on the list. I found it more intriguing out of all the other jobs to include some of the more hardcore roles. I know I don't have the stones to kick doors down and get into gunfights. That's not me. I'll let somebody else get into that stuff. So I just zeroed in on drones and flying unmanned aircraft and went from there.
There you go. So after the military, when you got into the civilian side, what did that look like? Was there college involved, or did you kind of just jump right into it?
So I actually took some time off once I got out of the service. I just wanted to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and kind of go from there. I wasn't 100% sure if being in the drone space was still what I wanted to do going forward. And after some soul searching and just kind of hanging around, again, still not doing a whole lot, I just fell back on what I knew and what I was good at. And so I researched what the heck I was going to do with drones, and I went back to school for it. Well, I went to school for it at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical and started my civilian journey seeking formal education.
So, well, since you had that civilian side, let's take a step back and talk about the military side. How does the military train drone pilots?
All right. So, at least for the platform that I flew. Go ahead.
There, Christian.
If it's top secret, it's all right. But, in general, how does it work?
Like all military applications, drill sergeant yells at you to do what you got to do and then get a sign off from there. But for more specifics, I wound up going to my platform specific training base. Pretty sure I can announce it. I went to Sierra Vista here in Arizona, coincidentally. And it started off with ground school, a lot of ground school of like, here's aviation general information. And then we went to some applications of like analyzing imagery and things of that nature, like how to identify this, that, and the other. Because that's, at least for the platform, I flew the Shadow. A big portion of that is just imagery, non-weaponized at that point in time. You're just looking at stuff and how to identify what you're looking at, search techniques, and just overall like best ways to utilize a camera payload for whatever Uncle Sam wants out of it. After that, we went into simulations of just like, here's the platform, here's how to fly it, the HUD and everything that's involved with flying that particular platform. Once we got through the simulations, we finally got to do the hands-on training where I got to fly the real thing a couple times. And then, got signed off and went to my unit after that.
Was that pretty nerve-wracking, handling a military drone for the first time?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Time and again for different gear and everything you operate within the military, they tell you if you negligently break it, like if it's your fault that it's broken or you destroy it, you're financially liable for it. So a young 19-year-old Cody, ain't no way I'm gonna be able to afford a multi-million-dollar aircraft. So I'm just like, please don't break, just Yeah.
Well, as long as present day Cody can afford, to break a multi-million-dollar aircraft, good to go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I did crash one, and I was like totally terrified at that point in time. Like, yeah, yeah. I had a full experience during my time in the service. Yeah,
Copy that. Yeah, anytime when a drone, whenever you have to experience a crash incident, it's never fun in any situation. I can imagine for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would,
because I
I would
go
say
ahead.
it's a very important aspect of being in the space. Like, yes, I crashed one, and I learned a lot from it. I think that's one of the key things that comes from it. Like, I didn't know that, yes, you're going to crash these things, and sometimes they're going to crash often. Get used to it. Prepare yourself for that. It's going to happen. So nowadays, I'm just like, oh no, okay. But in Iraq, I was just like, oh, I'm dead. My career's over. This is it.
Well, it's kind of cool going from the military side to the commercial space side. Like I know you were involved in being a flight test pilot, flight test engineer, if you will, on some commercial drones. Like, how would you say that the experience differs or the feeling differs when going from okay, we're flying for a mission versus like we're flying for testing in your experience?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I'm going to focus in on the similarities of the role I played in the military. I was just an internal operator. I flew from the GCS, if you will. I was not an external operator, had zero external experience, and so trans transmitting that over into the civilian sector for some flight tests flying from the GCS. I feel I had some good foundations. I would say I was very confident in operating an aircraft whenever I was flight testing. I would say some of the biggest lessons learned or development I had when it come to flight tests was working with the engineers, in particular, focusing on like do one thing at a time. When I was a young lad, I'm just flying the thing, I'm doing everything all at once. And with the engineers, they're like, no, we need to zero in on this one thing, focus on this one variable, change one thing at a time, so we truly know what's happening and what this impacts, how it impacts the other systems.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, we're a commercial pilot or someone who's focusing on like the commercial side with a finished product, maybe focusing more on everything at once. Flight testing is more about that step by step, one thing at a time. Don't get too far ahead of ourselves, if you
One,
will.
100%. Yeah, one thing at a time, dude. And that's had a profound impact on me even to this day. I still live by that rule. One thing at a time, and we'll get to where we
Because
need to go.
because if one thing gets missed, it's more than likely
Yeah,
we see those crash scenarios.
yeah.
You and I both know how that is,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Investigation happens, and they're like, "Oh, it was definitely your fault because you did all these things." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah."
So, to kind of moving on to this, like a little bit more on your education side. So, after the service, you got a degree from Embry-Riddle, and then did you just have your bachelor's or do you have a master's as well?
So yes, I've recently got my MBA this past December from West Texas A&M.
Congrats.
Uh, Thank you. It took a while, but I got there. When I first got my undergrad, I wouldn't say it was in my purview of like how far I wanted to take my education journey or what all degrees I wanted out of life. But I'm an ambitious young man. At least I still think I'm a young man, and just trying to seek career progression, and also just trying to be a better individual and operator in general. I did focus in on attaining some type of new certification or formal education, if you will, because I thought about like, okay, maybe PMP, get a PMP cert for like project management, or I could get a degree such as an MBA. I ultimately settled in on getting an MBA because it's a bit more, for me, it's a bit more robust and more in line with what I wanted to do, especially now that I'm a business owner. When I started it, it wasn't the plan to start my own business, but I think it's definitely been a benefit.
So,
So,
go ahead,
what
Christian.
motivated you to get a formal education within the UAS space?
I just fell back on what I knew. I was trying to figure out like again what I want to do with my life after the military. I was looking at different avenues, different careers, different jobs, explored a little bit of them. Nothing stood out, nothing captured my attention. And it all came to a point where I was like, I need to do something. And well, I know how to do drones. I know it's its own industry. There's education in that space, and the process made sense to me to like get some type of formal training or education, then enter space. Because I'd also been out of the game for a couple of years. It was like 4 years before I finally got back into it. And so I was like, let me just get trained, get into the space instead of just, I used to fly drones many years ago. And so I just wanted to build up myself up to be a better candidate entering the space.
How did Embry-Riddle help build you up to be a better candidate?
Well, uh, how did it help build me up to be a better candidate? I would say it
Maybe,
definitely
Well,
maybe,
helped. Go ahead.
maybe I can ask this instead. Sorry,
Hmm?
maybe I can ask this instead because I know, like, I'm went through Embry-Riddle myself as well. But I didn't have any prior UAS experience, like operations or anything like that, going into it. Like, while you were going through the program, like, did you have an experience in the class where maybe you thought like, okay, cool, learning about this in class, but this is something that you've already done in the field, or it's something new that you learned out of it?
I'd say I learned quite a bit more than I did for UAS in general. It's very different from the military. Military is very mission focused, fly the plane, do these things. For the civilian sector, going to Embry-Riddle, there was a lot of foundational knowledge, both in just aviation in and of itself. It was more robust, more topics about aviation, integrating UAS into aviation. And then we started rolling into, because UAS, there's so many different kinds, right? And we started learning
Yeah.
about like how you can build your own, program your own, test your own, fly them, fly the different platforms. And then we started doing projects of different applications from beginning to end. And so for the applications available in the civilian sector, the education I got at Embry-Riddle gave me a little taste and some foundational knowledge and experience to be a better candidate as opposed to some rando applying for some of these opportunities out there.
Nice. So it kind of so going from the education into the commercial field, spending time in the commercial field, what made you go, you know what, I'm gonna start my own drone company? Like what got you there? What pushed you over the edge, if I may ask? Take your
So
time with this.
there's a short version and there's a long version answer. I'll try and keep it short.
Let's go, let's go middle.
Middle? Okay. All right. So I'm just going to start from the beginning. Um, so my first job out of once I graduated from Embry-Riddle, my first job with Volonzi, where I ran into you, James. And I worked at Volonzi for about 2 years. And then November 3rd, 2021, the entire flight ops department, except you, James, got let go from the company. And so after that, the entire flight crew rolled over into another company, Sprite, which we worked there for another 2 years as well. And then December 26, 2023, we all got let go again. So this whole team that I'm still currently working with, for the past 4 years at the time, every 2 years we were getting laid off. And so there was some disgruntlement there, rightly so. And then some of the frustrations we had about, we thought, like, how could we have prevented this if we had any say-so in the matter, or just hold this potentially ultimate outcome off further than when it occurred. Something else that happened, at least at Sprite, the information that we had is we had all but secured a really awesome contract for the company. We were the guys that we just wrapped this project up going into the Christmas holiday season. We were preparing ourselves for the work ahead of what the oncoming year was going to have. Then we all got let go. We wound up at the same bar that we went to after we got let go from Volley, salting our beers with our tears, and then it got brought up like, we secured this contract. We're the guys that did this work. What if we try to swoop in, because it's now up for grabs, what if we try and swoop in and snag up that opportunity? And of course it was like, what if we did? What if we do? And then it just kind of just rolled from there, and then we started our own company and attempted to capitalize on the opportunity that presented itself.
That's pretty cool. And yeah, especially these last 10 years, the drone space has been one where there's a lot of startups that come up and then they dwindle away. I know shortly, about 8 months after that whole event happened, the entire rest of the company was let go with about maybe 24 hours warning that it might happen. So
Worse
that
than what
was
we had.
well, I'm not sure if it's worse, man, because
Yeah.
I was sitting there wondering what the heck was going on that I wasn't allowed in the room. So
Dude, Man, I remember coming out and telling you, James, and just the look of disbelief, just like, what just happened? Like, you're the sole survivor, James. It's just you.
I'm sitting, I'm sitting there thinking you were joking for about a good 30 seconds until Anthony came over and shook my hand. I'm like, no way, this
Yeah.
ain't reality. But but now that you've gotten it started up, how are things going at Diamondhead? Like what's business like? You seeing a good at least a more
Well,
stable.
let's
Sorry, go.
let's start with what is Diamond Head? What does Diamond
Yeah,
Head do?
that's a good point.
Let's take a step back a little
I'm
bit.
getting ahead here.
Introduce
Sorry,
us to
guys.
Diamond Head. Let's tell us a little bit about your business.
For sure. So Diamondhead UAS is a drone service provider in the southeast United States, here in Phoenix, Arizona. And we fell back onto what we knew for the past 2 years. We tried to enter the market into the utility inspection space while also exploring other verticals as well. Other opportunities or verticals we started up is we are some primary flight test pilots for this other company that we're working with out of Spaceport. We've also started up a media vertical as well, so we get to attend a bunch of events, record a bunch of media, and provide some footage for these companies to put on their social media. We're also working with some solar companies here in the Valley as well to help them support them both pre-install and post-install. And that's the short and sweet of what we're doing out here in the Valley.
Now, a lot of our viewers are students or graduates, and so we have a UAS program here. How would I guess what kind of frame of mind does a student need to kind of figure out which avenue they want to go? Because there's just so many things drones can do these days, and you just kind of prove that point right there.
I wholeheartedly agree. A lot of applications out there, and how do you settle in on just one or a couple? I would say really just explore some of your interests, really. When I was at Embry-Riddle, I had zero interest in like surveying cornfields out in Kansas. But now, as I've gotten older and a man that likes money, I know there's a lot of money in that space, so I'm open to doing that and exploring those opportunities as well. So I would say just play with some of the avenues that are available to you or that you have some interest in and really see if it's worth, if it intrigues you enough to pursue it further.
Nice. So the name Diamondhead, where did it come from? How did that come up?
Many meetings, many discussions. It was probably one of the first obstacles we had to overcome because we're all like, what do we call ourselves? And everybody's throwing out all kinds of names, this, that, the other, and just like nothing really stuck for all of us. And finally, I believe it was Bradley Schiff. He's the one that chucked out Diamond Head. And it came to a point where it's like, we need to make a decision on this. I got to file paperwork. And we're like, Diamond Head it is. We just ran with it and went from there. It was just a random shout out. That's how we came up with the name.
Nice.
Well, I mean, it's kind of fitting for where you're at, so it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did have a lot of snakes out at the test site when we were with Valancy.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to learn where the name came from. So you guys specialize a lot in like would you say that you're like a UAS utility inspection services company, or would you say that you do more than just that?
We do more than just that. I guess solar is the utility space as well. I'll only argue against that because one of our primary customers for our company is helping them flight test out over in Spaceport. And so them just being a primary client and somebody that's taken up a lot of our time. The utility inspection space, I would say, has taken a bit of a back seat as we have this avenue that we want to pursue and has interest for us, which is one of the perks of being a business owner. You can get to choose what you work on. And you're just like, oh, I could, go do this difficult work, or I could go do something that I find this more entertaining, or I just want it to be a bit more chill right now for this period and go pursue that opportunity.
So what's the most fun opportunity job you get, and what's the best paying job you get?
Best paying jobs. For me, it's always been in the utility space. Inspecting power lines pays very, very, very well. The most fun jobs, I would say, is when you're given my company or just my experience.
Either or
Either
both.
or. I would say, I'll repeat myself a little bit on this one. I feel like it's the flight test out of Spaceport. We get to fly a very unique platform. It's building and flight testing platforms that have never been developed before. You get to experience some new and interesting things. Just trying to make something fly that may or may not or shouldn't be flying. And so there's that experience. I would say one of the better experience I had was back at Valanzi, where They gave us a platform, sent me halfway around the world, and they were like, "Good luck, make it happen." And so all the trauma bonding that comes from that is some of the best parts of that experience.
Cody, you were the site lead actually operating over in Africa when you were sent. That was what would you say that kind of was there any experiences or connections that you made or learned there that kind of led you more into being more comfortable with making the choice of like, hey, we're gonna do this on our own. We're gonna start up Diamond Head.
I wouldn't say there was an experience that directly led from Ghana all the way up into creating Diamondhead. But I would say some of the lessons learned once I was a team lead over there, um, just the experience of truly leading the teams, having the full responsibility and burden of running a project and just leading men and women to success. Definitely, I would say not so many relationships now, but I still maintain positive relationships with a bunch of people I've met throughout my travels. Like I still speak with 3 or 4 people from Ghana. Didn't spend a whole lot of time in Senegal, and so I don't have any friends from that way. Throughout my journey, Sprite sent me over to Switzerland for a few months, and I still maintain contact with like 4 friends I've met over there. So being able to spend long periods of times in some of these locations, truly experiencing some of the local culture and meeting people, spending so much time with them, I've developed some really good friendships that I maintain to this day.
That's pretty awesome.
What are some memorable moments you have flying a drone in some of these places? Because some people they haven't even seen what a drone has seen. In these exotic places or foreign places that you've been to.
So I'd say one of the cooler experiences that I don't think I'll ever forget is a project I worked on in Ghana was delivering school supplies to remote villages, which was very, very rewarding, very exciting opportunity to be with. And for one of these locations, the school was 3 rectangle buildings in the shape of a triangle. And I think that plays a factor in this because I was on the outside with one of the operators, sending the platform in. We were landing in the middle of these 3 buildings shaped like a triangle. And it was kindergartners, like third, second, first graders, all the way down to kindergarten. And once they saw the platform, I've never heard such loud cheering before in my life. And I think the reverberations, I don't think I said that right. I think from the building shape itself just helped emanate and made this huge cheering sound of just like such excitement and happiness going on. I was just like, couldn't believe it. Now, I wasn't even the one flying it. I was telling the local pilot, it was the local guy doing it. I was like, that's you, man. You did that, man. They're just over there just screaming like a Michael Jackson concert. It was super,
That's
super cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Do you have footage of that?
No.
Oh man,
I
we
wish.
could have put it up like right here.
There's
Oh,
got to be a photo somewhere. Did they take any photos of the event at all?
I'm sure there's a few out there somewhere. I do have a couple of not that specific location, but I do have a couple from some of the locations that I landed at, taking pictures with the local students. I lost all video footage. Regrettably, I didn't keep any of it. I don't think I was supposed to, but like hindsight, like
yeah.
maybe I should have kept some of it.
You weren't Facebooking all the pictures and videos as you were going through. That's not allowed.
No, no, no. I
I
think
didn't
they
think
frowned
so.
upon that.
And in some cases over there, it was hard to get a connection where you really could do that in most in most cases, or at least upload gigabytes of data. It would take a couple days to really upload. So yeah, there were some other factors on that as well, I'm sure.
For sure, yeah. Just like capture it and upload it when you get back to the States. It's just that much easier.
Yeah, yeah. So I gotta ask, like, so now that you've started and then running your own business, what does growth look like for Diamond Head? How do you guys expand? Like, I know you're doing operations not just in Phoenix. Like, where else are you conducting operations at, if I may ask?
Yeah, for sure. So we've done some work in Colorado. One of our partners lives up in Colorado, and so we've been able to leverage him for some opportunities out that way. A lot of it really depends on the customer and client, like where they want their work done, where they want their drone work accomplished. And so we're a bit drone agnostic. And once we meet appropriate customers, we can meet their demands, get the equipment we need for whatever it is they're looking for. We're more than willing and able to travel outside the boundaries of our little bubble right here in Phoenix and go to where that is. For example, we have a salesman up in the Pennsylvania area, New Jersey area, and he's working this thing up there. We've already game planned, looked at what it would take for us to get up there and expand out into that way. In particular, I want to call it a hack, if you will, but I know I personally don't want to be traveling as much that far all the time for any potential work we have in that area. And so an expansion plan that we've come up with is leveraging online drone groups, such as Facebook, for example. They have many, many drone groups. You'll find me in there. You could just say, hey, I got this job out in this area. Here's the specifics. Does anybody want to get on it, and kind of build and grow from there, develop a relationship with some locals in the area, and just expand that way. So I don't have to travel as much, and Anthony can stay home with his children.
Hey, there you go. And hey, as a business owner, you got that. You have to have that high level management oversight on it. You can't necessarily be in the field all the time. Are you on the Northeastern PA? It's like NEPA drone pilots Facebook group at all?
I'm not entirely sure. Last year, I just like looked up drone groups, joined them all. I'm just like, all right, I'm ready to leverage these as necessary.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Reason I ask because there's I'll have to send you some links as a just in case later on, but there's some out here because now I'm in the PA region, so maybe get you some more hookups there. So send you some links, expand that network a little bit. But that's cool. That's awesome
Yeah.
that you guys are expanding.
How does Diamond Head find their business? Like, how do you market, advertise? Take us through that.
Say we don't really advertise. We primarily network. Some of our first opportunities and big projects from last year, it was all asking my immediate network, my friends. It was coincidentally somebody I graduated with at Embry-Riddle. I reached out to him to speak with his boss, like CEOs and leadership that I had access to, both to ask questions for like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Do you have any insight, direction they can help me out with? And one of those conversations led into them helping me out, providing just some general guidance about running and starting a business, as well as I have some work in that area if you're interested. And I said, let's explore it. Kind of went from there, and that's how we got our first gig and went from there. So to answer your question, network. That's what's been working for us. All our work has been networking through the grapevine.
Well, and like you were saying, you make friends everywhere you go, and in the other industry that we do, networking is a huge part of it.
So this is one thing I've kind of been wondering a bit on the business owner side, like as pilots, and it's something that we tell our students about, and anyone we can get ears to listen to, is that the drone industry in and of itself changes pretty fast. It changes on what seems like a yearly basis. As when you're running a business, what's like, how do you keep up with that? Like, how do you stay ahead? Or how do you take advantage or stay with the changes that come out in the industry? Because I know the FAA 2024 Reauthorization Act, they keep talking about the potential Part 108 notice of proposed rulemaking. We haven't seen an official update on that yet. It's just word salad at this point until something official comes out. But as a business owner, how do you keep up with the changes, if you will?
So I personally think that some of these platforms that come to fruition or to market only increase their ingenuity so much, right? Like it's only a slightly better camera, only a slightly better sensor, better nonetheless, but it doesn't really move the mark very, very far. And so with an understanding of the qualifications, standards, or minimums that customers want for some of their deliverables. I'll just say, taking like a site survey, for example. If you can produce a 4K map, I don't need the latest and greatest technology. My current platform can provide that just the same. And so that, for us, has enabled like a window, like 2 to 3, maybe even 4-year window before we need to invest in upgrading our equipment to the next best thing.
So it's there. Essentially, there's enough of a gap to where the advantages that have been made are noticeable to where you want to invest to stay, how would I say, competitive in the services that you provide. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, until there's a
Gotcha.
need to truly upgrade, like by all means, go for it. But in the meantime, I personally think it could be a waste of investment buying the next best thing every single year or however many odd months.
You've clearly given it a lot of thought. So I got to ask, like, what would you say is the hardest part? Like now having, you've had a huge amount of experience in a short amount of time in the military. You've gone through schooling. You've been in the commercial industry. You've been around the world flying, and now you're a co-founder and a CEO. What's the hardest part of running a drone business now that you're at that point?
Hardest part, I'll say like I'll say just managing sales, like a lot of businesses, is drumming up work, making sure have enough to keep this thing going, keeping my guys happy, and then like we're not going to fail. So I'd say that the hardest part is just taking the preventative measures and steps that you need to keep yourself going.
So
That's a
more
tough
of
question.
it is no, it's
Yeah.
different for everyone. I
Hmm.
mean, what you put out there is a very good point. It's having the soft skills, and it's not so much like the how would we say like the more technical side of running the drone business and knowing the technology and knowing how to carry out operations. Of course, all that's in there, but more of like when you go from just being an operator to a business owner. And having to run that business, like what are skills that are not necessarily something that is learned while just being a pilot? What is something that it kind of feeds into your MBA, that question of like, should I get a PMP or an MBA? Like what skills are necessary to really be able to be successful or manage or handle the business on top of already having what you know through your years of experience as an operator. So like would you say like what are some skills that you say that you kind of had to teach yourself in that position, and what are some skills that you've you learned through your education as far as like on the MBA side that helped you as a CEO?
So from the education standpoint, definitely I got some templates when it comes to managing projects. Like it really like hyper sped up the time it took for me to not have to learn myself how to manage and what to look for when running projects, right? All the work for a lot what I learned in project management, all the work, 95% happens before it even kicks off. Like you're just researching, investigating, game planning, figure out resources, just managing people, resources, and just the numbers in and of itself. And then you set the project off and it runs itself. You just kind of watch it and put out any fires that come up as it moves along. Self-taught is really becoming more of a socialite. I joined the local chamber of commerce. That's another area of which I'm able to drum up some business and had some luck and opportunities there. But just definitely being more of, I'm just here to socialize, hang out with people, and just not show up to these events with the intent of finding work, but of developing relationships. And so in the beginning, I was like, work, 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 work. Like, hey, man, can you benefit me? Like, this is the only reason I'm talking to you right now. Even I myself and even them, like, you can sniff it out really, really quick. Like, all right, man, you're hungry. I get it. Respect it. I'm not here for that. Perhaps in another meeting or situation, we could talk about that. But for here, it's just like a networking event, coffee event in the morning. We're just here to just hang out and maybe make some connections and go from there.
Yeah. So our other school is School of Firearms Technology, and I'm the event coordinator. And fortunately, that's one thing I didn't have to learn. That's one natural thing I I do. I love to party. So just being out there with the gun guys, going out, talking, hooting, hollering, all that stuff. When I went to my first after hours drone event, that was the biggest like difference that I saw is you would have these folks just on a mission. They're like, "Oh, I need to talk to this person. I need to talk to this person," because it was just business, 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 business. And not to say that on the firearm side they don't. There's not folks that do that, but it was just an interesting contrast of, how hungry, and it's not a bad thing, how hungry individuals were to just, I need to talk to this and try to get this deal done. I need to get this, instead of just having fun, relaxing, being natural, and then just kind of building rapport first.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was weird, but I think James does a way better job of it now, you know, after a few drinks and cigars, throughout the path. Yeah. So
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Cody's had to work with me before. And then Christian, poor guy, when he had to work with me, he's like, dude, lighten up. What are you trying to do? You're trying to scare everyone? What's going on here? Like, just have some fun. Go out, do some karaoke. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It's something I've had to learn a bit too. We grow up in the we I say grow up, but we're like in this technical mental state all the time, so that when we do get to like positions that we're in now, it's like, oh yeah, no, there is just the general idea of socializing, building those connections, building a community. And I think, like Christian, a lot of what you saw was like a lot of people already have some of those relationships outside of it. So when there is time to kind of discuss and get it out in person, they try to when there's business to be done. But yeah, it's definitely important to just, as Cody said, like building just those relationships, just getting to know someone, and then it's more than likely, I guess, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, that they'll think about you in the future when they do need a service that you provide. Would I be a lie in saying that? I know it's not 100% for everybody, but um, it turns out a little bit better if we're a little less aggressive.
Yeah, yeah. I would say you're absolutely right. Even myself on this journey, like I've met so many people, made so many connections, some of it with the purpose of just building a network. And then onesies or twosies have reached out to me. They're like, hey, I know this guy looking for drone stuff. You're the only drone guy I know. And bing, bang, bong, here you go.
Yeah. No, and the same with me, just talking to folks, passing your card, making an impression as a person usually does more than making an impression as a business. Because there's probably somebody else who does it out there just as well. It's just how do you set yourself apart from those other folks?
Yeah,
So remember that,
absolutely.
kids. Make a good impression.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Make
Cody,
a good
let me ask you
impression.
this. Uh, from the jobs that you do, what's a space that you want to get in that you are not in right now? Like what's
Mm,
the dream gig?
the
What's that
dream
drone
gig.
application you really want to be in?
Ooh. I would say right now I'm pretty inspired in the agricultural space. That's part of the platform we're helping flight test for our clients. I never really investigated the space because I wasn't of super interest in it, but just seeing some of the opportunities that are there and the platform we're specifically working with is like, I'm a bit excited for it. So I'm like, dude, I'll totally fly this thing. I think if we can develop this where it can come to market, we could absolutely capitalize in it and fly a very unique, very exciting platform, bringing it to the world.
So is there more than just like using multispectral for crop health inspections and crop spraying, would you say, in the agricultural application space?
So this one specifically is just ag spraying. I haven't done too much
Gotcha.
work, and they're not doing so much of lidar sensing of the crops themselves. This is just solve one particular pain point in regards to spraying.
Can you
Gotcha.
guys educate me? So, like I said, I'm a gun guy. I never knew too much about drones and still until we got the program here, and then I just found out how many practical applications. But just what main applications are there for agriculture? I know spraying, like you said, uh, and then just looking at crops that which blows my mind. But what else can you do?
There's like spraying and multispectral, as James brought up, of just like identifying and analyzing the health of some of the crops in the area. I really can't think of like too many other applications. 'Cause, imagine once you
So
like, go ahead.
sorry, this may not fall directly under agriculture, but it has to, I guess, it kind of circles around it, if you will, does loiters it a bit, is livestock counting. And so instead of having to put them in certain pens and count them one at a time as they feed through a channel in their different pens, you can use a drone that has really good image recognition to do counting. I know back in it was early 2016 out in West Texas, we had a feedlot that wanted that capability. So we did a test. We didn't have the onboard capability for image recognition at the time to do that, but we had the ability to record the video and then train an offboard. It was TensorFlow. It's like an image recognition AI back in the day, but it's a neural network, and train it to like count the cattle that it sees in the video as we're flying over, doing like a normal like Cody, you know how you do like the grid patterns for orthomosaics and mapping, and it was the same thing. We flew that and essentially created a map as well. So we tried it with the video, and then we just created a map. And then, luckily, when the cows are feeding, they're pretty still; they don't move much. And then it would count. It would take that orthomosaic and it would count them out essentially. So that's the only other one I can think of at the moment. But I'm
And so if you're
sure
missing a cow, you could know and then use a drone again with like thermal or whatever and go search for that cow, right?
there is
Turn
that. Yeah,
turns
especially
into a
if
SAR
you're like,
mission.
yes, yes, yeah,
All right,
for
sprayed some crops, counted
live.
cows, and now you're like, oh, I
Well,
got to
it's
go
funny.
find them.
It's great that you mentioned that because I mean when most people think about spraying, they're thinking about spraying open fields. But I've had students in the past who've informed me that they're getting into it to be able to spray their apple orchards for their homemade brews and breweries. And then they have individuals that are doing deer recovery or game recovery using drones. And then just like you said, Christian, like if one of your livestock count is missing, well, we got to go find where this thing is and go searching for it using different sensors like thermal and such to be able to find them. So I would say, again, while we may have some limited examples right now, as more technology comes out there, I'm sure, or gets added to these systems, I'm sure we'll see some other applications be brought up for it specific to agriculture and even more so than that. But who knows? We'll see.
Well, and then I've heard of like, controlled burns. And I don't know, Cody, if you've dealt with that, like with power line inspections where I've seen him, have flamethrowers. The drones have flamethrowers, burning brush off the power line or whatever. Like, do you guys deal with that stuff? Like drones with flamethrowers? Because that really intrigues me. And where can I get one?
I myself haven't used one personally. I'm definitely aware of the applications and implementation, and I would love to fly one myself. I don't I don't know if that falls under like civilian weaponized unmanned aircraft. I know that's not the most accepted thing from the government, but definitely be something to experience.
It's interesting though that there are a couple companies out there that are actually attaching firearms to UAVs for counter UAS purposes. So you're using drones to hunt drones, essentially, using flyable kinetic force. So it's interesting to see that some of those some companies are out there developing systems like that, and it's interesting because I don't think I like Cody said, it's not it's looked down upon in general, but it for other applications, I wonder if there's certain stipulations, but I won't try to dive too deep into that.
I don't think I could use my drone to hunt deer, both finding and even like, you know,
Well, I
taking
have
care of
seen,
it.
that there's the drone deer recovery channel, which seems pretty interesting. So I've seen a few podcasts from them. But just yeah, the technology is getting crazier and better and crazier and better every day. So
So, so all right, I gotta ask. I know we're getting on time here, but I want to ask this. So, Cody, what is the best or your favorite drone that you've ever flown?
Ooh,
man, you're stealing
favorite
my
drone.
quickfire questions. Yeah, I had that on my quickfire questions. We're
Oh
gonna do
no.
rapid fire, quick fire questions. So Cody, forget that he even asked that
All
question, and let's get into
right.
quick fire questions with
Quick
Cody
fire
Green.
questions. Yes, sir.
Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Hey, I don't know if you're prepared for this one. So, Cody, what's your favorite drone you've ever flown?
Favorite drone I've ever flown? I would say it would be the Volley C10. It was it was an exciting every time you launched it. Never knew what was going to happen.
Explain what that is to a normie
To normie,
or a muggle.
uh, sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be don't work. Just it'll crash on the ground right in front of you. I landed one time. Well, I was coming in for landing, and the thing just did a backflip, and nobody had seen that before. And I was like,
Sweet.
I did that.
All right. Worst place you've ever flown a drone.
Worst place I've ever flown a drone into a tree. The one bush in the field, I managed to hit a bush coming in for landing. James, I don't know if you were there for that one, but yep.
I think I was. I think myself and one other went running towards it.
Yeah. So like,
What
don't hit the
What
bush.
country was
Okay.
this?
Oh, this is America. I was here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that was out in the middle of I think that was out in Arizona somewhere.
Yeah. Arizona City. It was like,
most Most clutch snack or drink on a long drone ops a day.
Ooh, peanut butter pretzels.
Ooh, I love peanut butter pretzels. Like the ones with
Yeah,
the peanut butter inside,
the
or like
inside,
peanut
yeah,
butter.
like
Oh
little
yeah.
squares.
You
Yeah,
go to Costco and get the big one.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I got in my pantry right now. Yeah, just load up on those and just munch away.
Shout out Costco.
I'm
All
glad
right.
I'm amongst friends on that. It's in the
Yeah.
pantry, but yeah.
Well, now you know
Yeah.
whenever you go to his house where they're at. So
Hmm.
what's one drone job you'll never say no to?
That I'll never say no to. Ooh, I'll say cargo delivery. I'll send that thing as far as you want me to send it, dude. I got you.
Over the horizon.
Mm,
Let's go.
mm.
Most overrated drone or drone trend?
Ooh, most overrated drone or drone trend? I don't know. I would say people following. Some of those with trying to make your own videos and have it follow you, and it's like it seemed like a cool idea, but it just seems it never really took off.
I mean, everybody wants to see me riding my one wheel. So,
Right? Yeah.
that's why I do it. You know,
Cruising along, yeah. Just
James, what do
use
you
a
got
selfie
for that
stick,
one?
man.
What's what?
I would say Cody's correct on this one because that's
Okay.
one that was like that came out with there was a company known as Cape that offered that with their drones way back when, and it never really took off. And then other companies started to add it too. I know Skydio had it with their first drone, and then it's still included in some DJI drones. You don't see that feature really being like the mainstay of videos.
But you're like,
It's
nobody
not really.
cares. No, nobody
Yeah.
cares about you. It's like taking a picture of your food and posting it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. There you
okay,
go. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Yeah.
that's the best thing. All right. So, last quick fire question: if you weren't flying drones, what would you be doing for a
Um,
living?
car wash. Very interested in owning my own car wash.
Me too. Car wash,
N-
laundromat.
All
Some
right, yeah,
self-sustaining, quick
yeah.
money. Let's
Mm,
do it. And then we'll
yeah.
have drones. We'll also do something with drones there.
Yeah.
There's gotta be
Make some
something.
sweet promo videos, like this is me
Wait
washing a
the darn
car.
minute, guys. Hold up. Hold up. Get a car wash, but it's not. Well, I don't know how the FAA would look at this, guys, but car wash, but now you're using ag spraying drones for just car wash capabilities.
Just a quick spray of
Spraying,
all the soaps
spraying
on
car.
it, and then
You
seems
guys
like a
got a
very
lot better.
extra.
It's
Right.
it's more of a novelty thing. We'll make it a
Yeah,
Scottsdale thing, or
yeah.
Scott.
Paradise Valley.
There you go.
Yeah.
Some drones to wash car.
You
You
guys got
know?
the better choice.
Nobody,
I probably
anybody watching, patent pending.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's
Copyright.
pending. Yeah.
copyright infringement placed, patent pending provisional. We're protected. We're good. Now you guys
Hmm.
have the better choice. I'd probably still be a diesel mechanic.
Man. Going back to your
car
roots
car
there,
wash,
man.
car wash sounds like easier money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Like a
James,
coin car wash with maybe a little automatic joint in there, but that's just
hmm.
more work. If you
Yep.
live in a spot like Arizona where it's just dusty all the time, you have the
Yep.
quarter machine, some soaps filled, vending
Yep.
machine, done.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
Arizona, it seems like it's almost guaranteed business, though. You know,
I have a monthly subscription to a car wash.
Hey, my
So,
man. Exploring the
yeah.
market.
Cobblestone. Hey,
Yep.
Cobblestone, if you want to make my membership free, there you go.
Shout out. Yeah.
Shout out Cobblestone.
It's your
so
affiliation
Many
fee.
Valley locations.
sorry, Christian, if I'm taking your spot here, Cody. If they
Yes,
want to
sir.
learn more about Diamondhead, where can our students, our listeners, go to check you guys out?
Diamondheaduas.com, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always available through there. Those would be the two main channels. We also have an Instagram, Diamondhead UAS, as well. I'm not sure if we have a Facebook, and we're in the middle of setting up a YouTube channel for all of our promo videos that we've been developing for some of our clients here in the Valley.
Cool. Well, once you get that set up, I'm gonna put your links in our description. But once you get your YouTube set up, I can always edit it and pop that in there too. But thank you for being on. And yes, if you want to learn more about Diamond Head, go to those. But if you want to learn more about our UAS programs here at SDI, go to sdi.edu today. Talk to an admissions representative, hit that request for information. But all the information's on there. You know where to go. So, but Cody, thank you so much.
Thank
James,
you so much, Cody.
everybody wave
Thanks for
bye.
having me, guys. Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Just keep waving.
Just keep what we're
What?
still doing.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it.